Sure enough for four, like love to LA.
We'll just cut this back here just a little bit, and then maybe we'll crank it up again. But anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, you're listening to the George Espenlaub Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. It's different here. We have two goals in mind. One is to make you smile. If we can make you laugh, we'll really be glad. The other is to make you just as goofy as the rest of us are around here. And I'm telling you, there's a gang. I was telling Claudio, a lot of people come to the Funny Farm. Not many of them leave. And if they do leave, it don't take long. Their relatives, friends, acquaintances, they notice the difference right away. And they ask them, where have you been? But we're glad. We're happy that you're with us tonight, whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this great big world. We're delighted to have you. We have a very interesting show tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So come on in, put your comments up. We'll share them with everybody. Ask questions if you have questions. Don't be afraid to come in. So sit back. You won't go to sleep, I promise you. Sit back and enjoy the ride. And we'll get this thing started here in just a minute or less.
Feels like I'm slid down the middle. How can I tell which way to go?
That's the way I am most of the time, Claudio. Split down the middle.
There you go.
I don't know which direction I'm going. What was it before we were on the air? You used that word, discombobulated.
Discombobulated.
That's me right here. That's me. George discombobulated Espenlaub. But nonetheless, I'm happy being that way. I've been that way all my life. I guess I'll just stay. It's too late to change now.
There you go. It's working. It's working.
It's working. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight, let me flash some of these buttons around here and see what I can blow up and get right. We have with us tonight, Claudio, how do I say it? Reilsono?
Reilsono. Not bad. Reilsono. Yeah.
Okay. The head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And he is that. We put part of his resume up on the show page today, and there's more where that came from. I'm just running out of room, Claudio, but
That's a good thing.
I put up there what we could get up there, and then when we put the scheduled thing for the live stream up there, I put just about as much as I did the first time. So we're here, and we want you all to come in. A lot of people will sit back and watch without coming into the doors. But we want you to come on in, say hi, be a part, participate with us, and we'll all be happy when it's all said and done. Claudio, I guess the best way that we could start this thing off is tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm the head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University. I'm going into my 15th season. Absolutely love it there. Love my players. It's a great school, and had some great seasons there. Had some tough ones here and there. We won't talk about those, but love coaching. This is my 36th year of coaching. I started off when I was 18 years old as an assistant coach at Quaker Valley High School, my alma mater. Was head coach there at 23. Then went on to coach at Penn State Beaver. Was head coach at 1990. I was 25. We won a collegiate championship. Went to coached at some other schools, and in 2001, a dream of mine was always to be in professional baseball. A guy named James Gamble, who is the owner of the Global Scouting Bureau, hired me in January of 2001, and I'm the general manager and professional baseball scout with the Global Scouting Bureau since then. I'm still there. I absolutely love James and love the company, and I do a lot of things. I have a podcast. I do a couple TV shows here in Pittsburgh. I'm a host of a show called Pittsburgh's Ring Talk. It's a boxing show. Then I'm co-host of a show called Steel City Sports World. Do some boxing announcing, some speaking, part-time heart surgeon. I do all kind of things.
Uh, Let me ask you a question. What do you do in your spare time?
I also own a landscape business. I look for more things to do. As a matter of fact, I really do. Like today, I had a meeting with an NBC affiliate here in Pittsburgh, WPXI, and we're looking at making some documentaries that will have impact on people. One of the subjects will be me. Um, I enjoy doing that. And then, of course, I'm married now for since 98 to 21 years to my wife, Linda, who I've known since 1987. And then we have a daughter, Ida, named after my mom, who's 18 and a freshman at Pitt. She's also in the color guard. So, I do a lot of things, George, but the good thing about it is I still get to spend time with my family, and I've never missed one of my daughter's events, not one. And I just told somebody today, I'm the type of person who wants to have his cake and eat it too. By that, I mean, I want to do all these things. I want to coach and scout and do TV and speak and all that. But at the same time, I also want to spend time with my family. And I've been able to do that. And I so I think sometimes there's 26 hours of the day for me, and I'm usually working about 24 of them. But it's all good. I'm very grateful.
You're like me. I sleep fast. So
Yeah, right. I like that.
yeah,
I sleep fast. Right.
I sleep fast. I've been doing that all my life. I sleep fast. Uh,
Right.
there's my good buddy out of South Jersey, Mr. Lou Balls. It's good to have you, Lou.
Hey,
Uh,
Lou.
you was telling me earlier this afternoon that the house that you're sitting in now
Yeah.
is the house that you grew up in. Tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about that.
Well, again, I've been here from day one. I had a fantastic home life here with my mom and dad. I had the best parents in the world. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I won an award. And first thing I said was, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, he didn't get there alone. And without my parents, I guarantee you, absolute 1000%, I would not have the life that I have. I would not have accomplished the things that I've accomplished. I mean, obviously, I had good teams and people to hire me, and the support of my wife and daughter, obviously. But my parents were the foundation. They started it, and I just stayed here. My mom passed young. She was only 48. My dad needed me around, and I was more than happy to stay with him and take care of him and help him with work and whatever else he needed help with. And my wife was unbelievably understanding and accepting, or whatever you want to call it, that she wanted to stay here as well, and raise my daughter here. She walked the same footsteps that I walked. And geez, I just, as I said, my prayers anymore consist of just thank you, and that's it. But I live in a great town in Swickley, Pennsylvania, about 13 miles outside of Pittsburgh, and I'm very grateful. Love it here.
Tell me a little bit about how you got into coaching.
Well, really, how I got into baseball. My mom and dad, Olindo and Ida Reilsono, were born in Italy, and they weren't into baseball. They liked my dad loved boxing. My mom loved soccer and boxing. So I was not introduced to baseball until August 19th, 1973. My uncle used to work at Three River Stadium in a place called the Allegheny Club, which was a restaurant inside the stadium, and you can see the field, the game. So he brought me to the game, and as we approached Three River Stadium, my eyes got really big because I'd never seen anything so big in my life. Then he took me to the Allegheny Club, and I still remember this. I can still smell the scent of that elevator and walking up to the Allegheny Club. And then there was a beautiful picture of Roberto Clemente to the right as soon as you open up the elevator. And I knew who he was, but I didn't know who anybody else was. Then as I'm walking through the hallways, there's all these pictures of former Steelers. And there was a picture of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. And then I get to see the field through these glass windows. Then he takes me down to the locker room, and I see these big guys wearing these bright white uniforms, having a fun, joking around, and something's kind of stirring up inside of me. Then we go outside to the field, up this ramp through the dugout, and I see this big scoreboard, and it's 58,000 seats. It was empty. It was about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. It was me, the grounds crew, and I'm just looking around. I'm saying, wow, what is this? And this is before the game even started. So then we watched the game, and I remember I didn't say a word to anybody. Or on the way back, I got home, and there was an exact spot in this house where my dad said, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "I did, but I think I know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life." He said, "What's that?" Now remember, I was 8 years old. I said, "I want to be in professional baseball." And without a blink of an eye, he said, "Okay, if that's what you want, then me and your mom will do everything we can to give you every opportunity in the world to make your dreams come true." And my mom said, "As long as you're good in school and you're a good boy and all that kind of stuff, we'll be there to support you." And George, they kept their promise, and here I am. But I got to tell you a quick story. I did a speech a couple weeks ago, and the speech title was "Things Can Happen in Life." So as an 8-year-old kid, I didn't know who any of these guys were, but the pitcher, his name was Jim Rooker, who's a very good friend of mine to this day. And not only is he a friend, but he also has done some scouting work for the company that I'm with. The first baseman's name was Al Oliver, who he and I were inducted into the same Hall of Fame together a few years ago, and he's a friend. The second baseman's name was Rennie Stennett, who is a good friend of mine, and he invited me to the 1979 reunion party they had a few months ago. Then the left fielder was Willie Stargell, who I won a Willie Stargell Award a few years ago. So if you'd have told that 8-year-old kid that those things would have happened, and someday you're going to be friends with these guys, and someday you're going to play in celebrity golf tournaments with these guys, or someday these guys are going to be on your show or shows, so what are you talking about? But that's what I try to tell kids. Things can happen in life if you work hard, you stay dedicated, you rise when you fall, because you're going to fall. And yeah, that's where it is. And I'm very grateful. Like I said, I'm thankful every day, every second of the day. But I played high school baseball. I'm sorry. And then I went to college, but I got hurt. So then I talked to my old high school coach, Rich Woznicki. He said, "Why don't you come on the staff?" So for 5 years, I was a volunteer assistant at my old high school. Then I got to be head coach at age 23, as I said. And then from there, it went from there.
Wow. You mentioned Three Rivers. That brings back some memories. We were talking this afternoon. I go on, I don't know if it's unfortunate or it's fortunate, but I go all the way back to Forbes Field. And one of the, and I don't know why this is, Claudio, but one of the things that really stick in my mind after all these years, at Forbes Field, you had these big pillars everywhere.
Right.
And so you'd always be going like this if you were around that pillar. So you'd always be moving this way. But I got to see some of the greatest ball players in history.
Sure did.
I mentioned to you Lou Burdett, Warren Spahn, Clemente, Mays, Aaron. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I remember going to a clinic at the YMCA in Altoona, Pennsylvania, when Dick Grote was the shortstop after he came from St. Louis. He was holding a clinic. And I can still see him today in my mind's eye, like he's over there, and I can see me sitting there on the floor. I was just a young kid, and I could see him. He had a base laying there on the floor, and he was showing us how to turn a double play and how to square it off and so on and so forth. I could see that just as plain as day. So, yeah, I could picture an 8-year-old boy with these things going through his mind. And then I look at the man that's sitting here tonight, and I think every youngster in America, if they could only grasp what the man's saying and get everything in its proper place, it can happen to everybody or to anybody that's willing to put forth the
Yeah.
work.
I told these kids a couple weeks ago, there's nothing special about me. I mean, you mentioned Clemente, who was an unbelievable talent, or you see a Michael Jordan or a Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. They all worked incredibly hard. But, with me, there's nothing special about me. I'm just, I just didn't give up. I had a dream, I had a goal. And as I said, got knocked down a bunch. Um, got a ton of no's, but I was persistent, and it was scary, And then on top of that, as much support as I had from my mom and dad, which I had unbridled support from them. They were always there for me, but there was some other people, family members, that were not so supportive, and that made the road a little bit harder with their comments, or even some people that I worked with or worked for made the road a little slippery. Um, but I said to myself, as important as my mom and dad were in the motivation of me trying to make that dream come true, those people who were against me, like if my parents were right here, those people were right here, because I was not going to let them win. It isn't that they didn't believe in me, George. It's that they didn't want it to happen.
Right.
And it hurt because I cared for some of those people. But they motivated the hell out of me. But that's why I tell kids, you're going to have some people support you. You're going to have people not support you. And you have to listen to both. Make sure that they both stick in your head.
Right.
The ones who love you and support you, do it for them. The ones who don't, do it in spite of them. And they say your worst enemy can be your best ally. And that's something that stuck with me. And here's where things are. And I had a lot of support too. Like I said, my old high school coach, Rich Woznicki, gave me my first shot. A guy named Larry Polochek, who was a coach at Community College of Beaver County, was a tremendous help to me. Ed Driscoll, who coached at Quigley Catholic High School, was a tremendous help to me. And of course, James Gamble, the owner of the Global Scouting Bureau, gave me the break of a lifetime. And, so I've been lucky.
There's always going to be those people that sit on the sideline and say, "Nah,
Yeah.
you can't do that."
Yeah.
My grandmother was about, I don't know, 4'9". She's just a little bitty lady.
Yeah.
She raised 8 kids. 5 of them was boys. And she used to tell me, she'd say, "Georgie," and she'd take that little finger and shake it at me. "Don't you ever let anyone tell you that you can't do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care what they say. They're not going to do something themselves, and they don't want nobody else to do something. So
Right.
you just don't pay them no mind, and you go ahead and do it." So
Yeah. Well, the thing about that is it's extremely true, but the people that were the biggest thorns in my side were doing well. They
yes,
were doing well. It isn't like, and I never bragged about anything. I had this goal, I had this dream, and that was it. But they just didn't want it to happen. Um, for whatever reason, uh, that's just the way they are. Some people are just sick, to be honest with you. But if you listen to songs or watch movies, there's always a good guy and there's a bad guy, you
yep,
know.
yep,
And but looking back on it, George, I'm glad I had those bad guys. Not that I'm perfect because I'm far from it. But I've never told somebody, I never busted their chops and said, "Oh, you can't do this." I try to be supportive
hmm
uh, with things, and I've had some great friends who were supportive of me. My cousin Chris, my two of my best friends, Vince Kaplak, Nick Kaplak, Rick Mitchell. These guys, Eric Jackson, Laurie. These guys have had dreams and goals that they were always supportive of me, and I was supportive of them. And I've also been very lucky to have a lot of people have impact in my life that were pretty big names in sports, that many of them were friends and they were always there to support me. If we have time, we can talk about them whenever you want. But and that was very important to me. That was very important to me. And and like I said, I'm grateful for where things are.
How big a school is Carnegie?
10,000 people. It's not a big school at all. But I always say it is an Ivy League school in Pittsburgh. because it's tremendously, it's hard to get in, hard to stay in. But when you graduate, you write your ticket. I mean, and I've had just an unbelievable, fantastic group of young men to coach that in the past week, ironically, I've gotten some nice texts and emails, um, saying how I helped them with some of my sayings or some of my actions or whatever. And that means a lot because, you know, you want to have impact on them. I always say, I want to be able to help you more than just on how to hit a fastball.
Right.
Okay. I give them experiences that I've had in life, good and bad, and how I navigated. And hopefully they can use those guidelines to navigate through their life. And I've gotten some nice comments about that. And that means the world to me. That means the world to me.
Now you have been there, what, 15 years?
Going on my 15th year. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've had quite a few graduating classes.
Yeah, yeah, they've all graduated. Every player. I mean, I'm not gonna. You know how sometimes in college basketball or football, this guy has a 68% graduation rate. Well, I have 1,000%, and trust me, it's not because of me. These guys are highly intelligent, and they put a ton of work into it. And again, just a great group of guys.
I read somewhere in this great big resume that you signed 62 players to pro contracts around the world.
Through our company, yes, with the Global Scouting Bureau, which has assisted in well over 2,800 player signings. The players that we mentioned were guys that I physically saw, and we placed in different leagues. Now, you're obviously going to place more players in the independent leagues and overseas because there's more of that level player.
Right.
But we've had a lot of success. It's a great company, led by, again, James Gamble, who, in my opinion, is the best at what he does. He knows the game inside and out. He knows all ages and colleges, and he's just tremendous. And I've learned a lot from him. And it's just been an unbelievable. If I talk about him too much, I get emotional because he gave me the break of a lifetime. And it's been a blessing and a great company. And it's hard to make it in professional baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But I coined the term years ago, when you try out why try out for one team when you can try out for all of them at once? And that's what happens when you come to the Global Scouting Bureau, because we have contacts all over the world. And we utilize those contacts to get players signed. And we've been able to make a lot of dreams come true.
Now, this professional baseball scout,
Mhm.
that's you, with Global Scouting World Bureau, and that's their website, protryouts.com.
Yes, sir.
I went there after we talked this afternoon.
Okay.
That's a pretty cool website. What does that mean? Pro tryouts. When you go to that website or when you hear that, what does that consist of? What does it mean?
Well, we've changed our model over the years, which any successful business is going to have to be nimble. They're going to have to adjust, because if you stay the same way, you're probably going to fall behind. And there's a lot of companies that pop up, and good, good for them. We don't worry about competition, but they don't last long. We've been around since 1998. As I said, I've been with the company since 2001. But we used to run tryout camps all over the country. Rhode Island, California, New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida, you name it. We've had tryout camps, and players used to come to us. We would evaluate them and then disseminate the information to teams, or teams would call us. And that's how we got people signed. Now we've changed the model because, for different reasons, that model for the past several years wasn't going to work. So what we've done now is we still have people send us their videos and information. And as a matter of fact, James just got back from the Dominican, and he scouted some players, and he's going to bring them back, house them, and we're going to try to get them signed. And I'm going to go sometime in January, February to the Dominican and do the same thing. We're going to scout players and get them signed to major league, most likely major league organization, because these players are good. I'm sure some of them are going to go independent, but that's how we do it now. We get tons of videos and referrals, and we check these guys out. We have scouts all over the country. We get them looked at, and we try to get them signed.
When you're recruiting for Carnegie, what are you looking for?
Well, to be honest with you, it's so hard to get in and so hard to stay in. I have scout friends of mine call me and say, Claudio, I got this guy. He's hitting 375. He runs a 6.8 60, or he's throwing 85 plus. Wait a minute. What's his GPA? What are his SAT scores? So to be honest with you, I can go scout cover the country. But as I said, it's hard to get in, hard to stay in, but it's a fantastic school. So what do I look for? First thing I look for is what kind of person he is. That's the first and foremost. I do not want somebody, I tell my guys all the time, if practice is at 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever, excuse me, I don't want you guys to say, oh man, I got practice at 3 o'clock. I got to put up with Claudio. I don't want that. Nor do I want to say, I got practice at 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever time, and I got to coach this guy. And oh man, I don't want to see him. I don't want that. Mm-hmm. These 4 or 5 years go quick. Life goes quick. I'm not going to spend it, nor do I want them to spend it in a negative situation. I want good people first and foremost. You know, the old saying in real estate is the 3 most important things in real estate are good location, good location, good location. I say the 3 most important things in life and business are good people, good people, good people. Mm-hmm. And I have great people there. And so first thing I look for is the person. Second thing is obviously look for ability. I'm a stickler. I also do a ton of hitting camps and hitting lessons. And you and I talked before the show about being confident and cocky. I'm not being cocky. I'm being very confident. I don't think there's anybody better than me that teach hitting. And I would go up against anybody when it comes to hitting. So I'm very particular what I look for in hitting. Then obviously the regular tools. Does he have an arm? Can he run? Does he get a good jump on the ball defensively? What kind of swing does he have as a pitcher? I don't care what kind of mechanics they have if they're being successful. They can throw the ball behind their back. They can hold the bat 10 feet up in the air. If they're getting triples, keep doing it. I don't believe in you do things my way. No, let's do things like when I teach hitting. Let's look at you first, see what you do well, see if you need anything tweaked, if anything, and let's go from there. Too many people, so you have to do it my way. You know, the name of the school, my way. There is no my way. But obviously look for tools. You look for soft hands. I've been around it long enough, and I've been around good people that would teach me, that taught me things. And I've been a student of the game since I was a little kid. And I'm lucky enough to have access to former major leaguers. And I talk to them about it from the 70s and 80s who know what they're talking about. And so it's, it doesn't take long to see if a player can play and on what level.
Let's talk some more baseball. Let's talk about some of the changes that you and I have seen over the years. Some not so good, maybe some okay. What are some of the changes that you have seen coming into baseball now that you didn't see when you was a young fellow?
Don't like the pitch counts. Don't like the pitchers coming out after 5 innings, whether he's pitching. Now, if he's hurt, if he's wild, if he's getting hit hard, take him out. Right. But I don't like all the pitching changes. 6, 7 pitchers a game. I don't like, to be honest with you, you can see it takes a quarter of a second to see where the hole is on a hitter. And what I mean by hole, I don't mean necessarily what kind of pitch he can't hit or can hit. It's the location. And you see these guys teeing off. These pitchers are just firing back and throwing it right down the middle or inside. And these guys are hauling off and trying to kill the ball, uppercutting, and they're trying to hit it 500 feet. but there's a hole on the outside part of the plate. You are a major league pitcher. I'm pretty sure you can hit those spots, but they don't hit them. I don't like that. I don't like the way
Oh,
I'm sorry. Hello, George.
there. Can you hear me, Claudio?
Yes, sir. I got you. I can see you and hear you now.
Wow. Everything went away.
That's
Uh,
okay.
every now and then in in our area, and you know what? It won't happen during the daytime. And it hasn't happened for I don't know, month and a half, 2 months. But every
Right.
now and then, Comcast has a problem in our area.
Okay.
They just go away, and
No
then they
problem.
come back again. So I apologize for
That's
that.
okay. But
Uh,
I remember where I left off. I have a talent. I fall asleep in the middle of a conversation sometimes, and I wake up 10 minutes later and I'm back at the spot where I left off. That's what I've been told. So,
okay, let's pick
but
up where we left
okay.
off.
But like hitting, everybody elbow up, squash the bug, hips, or hit the lower half of the ball to create backspin, or keep your hands inside the ball. They have everybody has their philosophies, and I don't believe that they're let the ball travel deep. These things don't work. Okay, now the elbow up, if you do it naturally, terrific. If you squash the bug naturally, terrific. But how about if your back foot kicks up, like mine or like Clementi's did? Okay, then you're going to tell somebody to nail their foot to the ground. No, but too many of these coaches, you have to do it their way, or whoever the flavor of the month is in Major League Baseball.
Mhm.
Um, he bat like when Pujols was the flavor of the month. All these coaches wanted their players to bat like Pujols. Well, it's hard to bat like Pujols. You might not be comfortable doing that. We've all tried to emulate players that we like. Okay, but you have to find out who you are. So I'm not crazy about that. And, I don't see very many good bunters anymore. There's guys with some pretty good speed, but they don't know how to steal a base. There's a lot of things. And the other thing, too, is the personalities. There's not one guy like a Reggie Jackson or Ricky Henderson or a Dave Parker or a Lee Mazzilli. There's a lot of guys who had personality, not necessarily big talkers, but they would make basket catchers, or they would wear a lot of wristbands, or whatever the case was. But they drew you to them. They were attractive to watch. It's a little bit different. Society is different. But so there's a lot of things that it's just not the same as it was, and even the pitches. I mean, I grew up. There was a lot of big time curveballs and sliders, and not just guys rearing back and firing the ball. There was guys who pitched, not just try to throw the ball through the wall.
Right.
And those guys, they would not accept. Forget about the Hall of Famers. I'm talking even the second tier guys who used to win 15, 16 games. Look at their complete game numbers: 15 complete games, 18 complete games, and they pitched forever. So there's a lot of things that that I'm not real in favor of.
I was telling my grandson, I have 5 grandsons, but I was telling one of them not long ago when we was talking about pitching.
Yeah.
And I said, look at the statistics. And we got on the internet, and I said, look at the complete games these guys threw. I mean, that's from 1 inning to the 9th inning.
On 4 days rest.
Yeah, complete games. Now look, I said when you're watching baseball, they're talking about, well, if I can get 5 out of them.
I know. I don't.
If I can get 6 out of them, and then it's got to the point now they're starting games with their bullpen guys, and
they're trying to get too cute.
Yeah,
they try to get too cute. Why would you sign if a guy's a starting pitcher, you don't trust your starting pitcher who's making $15-16 million a year. You have to get a bullpen guy, and they piece him for 1 inning, and they put another guy in for two hitters, and and they want to speed the game up. That's how you speed. Now there's a rule that came out. I don't think it came out yet, but they're discussing it right now. The second, as a matter of fact, about a pitcher has to throw to at least 3 hitters. I don't like that either, because how about if he's getting bombed? Okay, this first guy hits a home run, the second one but these managers, and what it is, it's a copycat league. Sports are copycat. In football, when the shotgun came out, everybody used it. When the wildcat, everybody used it. The run and shoot, same in baseball. So if somebody tomorrow started, like they started with that opener, I think they call them, the closer opens, then other teams started to do it. And they have these guys with the analytics. I'm not crazy about that. And a lot of the coaches have, when they walk into the office, the lineup is already made out for them. Go do that with Billy Martin, Dick Williams, Chuck Tanner, Danny Murtaugh, Whitey Herzog, Lou Piniella, Tony La Russa, you can go on and on. Those guys, some would have laughed at it, or Billy Martin would have come after you. Okay. So they get a little carried away, and I'm not crazy about that stuff, but it's the way it goes.
How about
I run my team the way I want to run it. I don't pay attention to all that stuff.
One of the things that really drives me about half batty, although I'm already that way, is when they put that what's it called, the SW whatever, anyhow, how far the ball went,
launch angle, and spin ratio. I know,
that launch angle. Yeah. Oh, that just goes through me 6 ways from last Sunday. I mean, everybody's got this launch angle,
which creates more strikeouts. Which I don't know about 2019, but 2018 there were more strikeouts than hits. Think about that.
That's a shame. I remember playing small ball. You want to bunt the guy over. You got the guy on second base. And here's another thing, Claudio. Oh, I mean, I scream at the television. My wife of 51 years will say, won't you settle down? It's on TV. They can't hear you.
Right.
I get red in the face. I stand up. I break out into a sweat. This just blows me away. Number one, a guy's on second. A guy can't hit to the right side. Yeah. They put this big shift on. And
my God, I know.
You got a field that you could drive 3 Mack trucks through,
Right.
and this guy left-handed or right-handed, it makes no difference. He can't hit the hole. I I I don't know
Do
where
you,
the
do you
I don't
remember the name Richie Hebner?
Yes.
Richie Hebner played for Pittsburgh, Philly, Detroit Mets, Cubs. He was a dead pool hitter. And I just looked on YouTube at a random game, the Mets against the Phillies, 1978. Now, the game prior, they said Richie Hebner went 4 for 5. Now, they had a shift back then, too. People think they just invented it.
Mm-hmm.
But what Richie Hebner did was he bunted one. He had 3 hits to the left side. Guess what happened the next day? They didn't play a shift on him anymore.
Right.
And another thing that I forgot to mention that bothers me, and I won't mention the team or coach or anything like that, but this particular team was playing in the playoffs. So they asked the coach, what's your game plan against this particular pitcher? He said, well, we want to get him out of the game quick. So we want to take the pitch count deep. So we're going to go up there and take pitches, get his pitch count up. The other team will take him out, and they'll bring in their bullpen. The problem with that is the starting pitcher didn't walk anybody. And the second problem with that was the bullpen was damn good. So this team lost that game. They got blown out. I don't understand what happened to, and I heard Johnny Bench talking about this a couple of days ago on an old interview. If the first pitch is good, swing at it, because you don't know how many pitches you're going to get that are good.
Right.
The game is just, it's overthought. It's overthought. And there's another particular organization that their minor league system, if your best pitch, George, on an 0-2 count, a 1-2 count is a slider, you're not allowed to throw that slider. You have to throw some other pitch. And I just don't get it. I don't want to knock, because I deal with these teams, so I don't want to knock too many people.
Right.
I still love the game and all that, but I don't know where these things come from. And the older guys who knew the game inside and out, the physical part of it, that's kind of getting pushed out. Now it's, the analytics of everything, and numbers are very important, and they're great to help. And there's no other sport that's more important to numbers as baseball. But that's just the way it is. But maybe I'm an old dinosaur. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of us dinosaurs lumbering around out here. Just the analytics alone, I'm thinking, my goodness gracious, you got numbers for this. I don't know what half of them are anymore. WAR and all these other things. What we were concerned with was your batting average.
There you go.
Could you bunt?
Yeah.
Could you hit it in the hole? Or could you hit it to the right side? Or could you hit it to the left side? Wherever it needed to go.
Yeah.
I watch guys now that's playing Major League Ball. It just causes me to spit sideways sometimes. 197 batting average.
Yeah.
238. But yet they'll put this other figure up here, whatever that thing is, on base percentage or whatever, and it's higher. So they look at that. There's so many things, and it's a blessed old game. It tears me up, and I know there's other people out there too. It just tears me up to see what's going. When I watch people trying to bunt, that's another thing that makes my face red.
Yeah.
We used to spend hours, sometimes a whole practice, just bunting.
No question. We used to play a game, who would hit the shortest bunt.
Yeah.
Or even Pepper. Pete Rose used to play Pepper every day. I used to as a kid. Now there's signs on the fences. No Pepper.
No Pepper.
I don't know why, but but again, you adjust, and that's just the way it is. So you adjust, and you still evaluate your players with your eyes, and then let them do with it what they want, and you go from there.
So the players at Carnegie, they're not recruited. First, they have to make the grade to get into the school,
right?
And then they come out and play baseball.
Right.
Wow, that's a lost art anymore.
Yeah, but you know what? I have guys who love playing, and again, I've had some fantastic people play for me, and again, they have made me incredibly emotional many times. And I was just telling this story a couple of days ago. In 2000, the game was in 2014. We have a fall season as well, and it was a back and forth game. We had to win this game, and our season carries over to the spring. And if we win, we were in first place, which was very important to us, and because we were going to be a better team in the spring. So we were winning this game. The other team comes back, and I was kind of running out of pitchers. So my players said, "Don't worry, coach. We're going to win this game." This one kid said, "I want to pitch." I said, "Darren, you were just catching. You pitched yesterday. You're catching today." He said, "No, I want to pitch." Then he said, "We want to win this game for you, And I'll be honest with you, George, for an inning, a good solid inning, I didn't make one call. I wear sunglasses when I coach. I was in tears. Everything was blurry. I know I made some calls, I guess, but I don't know what I did. We win the game. And I remember I couldn't speak to the team because that meant so much to me. I have the game ball back there, as a matter of fact. But, when you have kids that age, men that age, boys that age, whatever you want to call them, and they say that to you, it just means everything to you. And like I said, I mentioned a guy named Vince Kaplak and Nick Kaplak. I coached Vinny back in 1988. I was 23. He was 17. And I coached Nick a couple years later. I was 24. He was, when I coached Nick, he was, I think, 15, something like that. They're my best friends, two of my best friends. And I have some other players. A couple years ago at CMU, we graduated 9 guys. And what a special team that was. And matter of fact, I just got a text the other day. One of them's getting married. And I'm meeting with a kid that I coached several years ago. This Saturday, we're going to go have dinner. I've been so lucky. I don't, you can be the greatest coach in the world, George. If you do not have the horses, you're not going to win.
That's right.
You're not going to win. You have to have the players who not only can play, but are special people. I study teams all the time, and coaches and head coaches. And like the old Green Bay Packers or the Steelers of the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking about those, or even the New England Patriots nowadays, or the old Celtics or the old Lakers of the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Sure, they were great players, but there was something special about them. And they listened to their coach. When Pat Riley took over the Lakers in 80 or 81, the player, he was going to talk to some reporter, and the entire team walked behind him. This is like the first day of practice. He said, "Oh, you guys can go ahead and start loosening up." And one of the players says, "No, you're our leader. We're following you now."
Mm-hmm.
Who does that? That was a special team. That's why they did what they did. And I've had special teams like that, and special people, and that's why I love doing what I do. And I've had some teams that didn't win that had special people. And to me, that's what it's all about. And if you can have some impact on them, Jim Valvano, I'm sure you heard of Jim Valvano, the NC State coach, and unfortunately the Jimmy V Cancer Fund.
Right.
Jimmy was a friend of mine who had a ton of impact in my life. He once said that his favorite word in the English dictionary was the word impact. And that's something that's very important to me, to have impact on people, because so many, George, have had impact in my life.
I often say, you might never know your entire life what impact you had on someone else.
Right.
I had Anthony Griggs with me.
Sure, I know Anthony, yeah.
No, Anthony. Anthony and I talk quite often, but I asked him on the show one night, I said, "Anthony, have you ever had anyone come back weeks, months, maybe perhaps years, and say, you know something? You said something to me, or you showed me something that impacted my life." And he said, it's funny that you ask. And he told a story about it. But that just goes to show what we say and how we lead,
Mhm.
the examples we set,
No question.
it has an impact.
A couple days ago, this one kid, Dan Evans, who I'm meeting this Saturday, he said that my one quote helped him and his fiance through a lot of things. And that quote was, matter of fact, I'll give you the birth of it. A few years ago, our team just got off to a bad start. We had a special group of guys, a great team, but we just got off to a bad start. So I said, look, in order for us to make the playoffs, we have to win. I believe it was 9 games in a row. 9 games in a row. So they're looking at me like 9 games in a row. And I said, the little boy asked the old man, how do you achieve true success in life? And the old man said, by eating an elephant. And the little boy said, well, how do you eat an elephant? And the old man said, 1 bite at a time. So that particular team, when I said that, whenever we broke the huddle, we would say win, hits, or tartans, right? Which is our team name. They start saying elephants. Now, other teams laughed at us until we beat them. But when they said elephants, I get goosebumps even thinking about it. I said, wow, this is a special team. They could have said, you know what, this Italian guy, what the hell is he talking about elephants, But they didn't. And I also, like I said, I try to tell these guys things that have happened to me in my life. Be it in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten dogged. I've had girls break up with me. I've had family members nail me. I've had my mom, she passed in my arms. My dad was ill for many years, and how I dealt with that. So I try to and if I didn't experience something, then I will give them the best advice I can possibly give them, and try to help them with it, because it's not just all about baseball. It just isn't. And like I said, they're going to be husbands and fathers and businessmen a lot longer, and sons than they are baseball players. And just want to give them my experiences, the good and the bad and the ugly. You try to. I've been fortunate enough that these guys have said, "Hey, you've helped me out," and that means a lot to me.
How did you how did you get involved in boxing? You write articles.
I've written for some boxing websites, and I host a boxing TV show, Pittsburgh's only TV boxing show, and I do some announcing with 2 fantastic, great guys, Smoking Jim Frazier and Luther Dupree. We do some shows together, and Mike Migliore does the Steel City Sports World show, but the boxing show we do together. And how did I get into it? My parents, from reasoning, the day of reasoning, I remember in this house, the name Rocky Marciano, and my mom used to like a guy named Nino Benvenuti. As a matter of fact, I remember in 1969, my grandmother came over from Italy, and the Benvenuti fight was on, and I never seen my mom behave that way before. She went nuts. But Rocky Marciano was my dad's hero. All the Italians loved Rocky Marciano. So obviously, my dad and I would watch fights, and through the years, I've become very good friends with some guys. Vinny Pazienza is like a brother to me. They just made a movie of his life a couple years ago, Bleed for This. Vinny won 2 world titles. Then after his second world title, he broke his neck. Wasn't supposed to walk. For sure he wasn't going to fight, but he did fight again. He won 3 more world titles after that. You can go on YouTube and see that they screwed a halo into his head and a body cast, and he wasn't supposed to move. Well, Vinny didn't do that. Vinny's training, and Vinny was a better fighter after the accident. Then another good friend of mine who I love dearly, Donnie Lalonde, is a former light heavyweight champ of the world with a great story. Didn't exactly have a great childhood, and became Canadian light heavyweight champ at age 23, world light heavyweight champ at age 27, and had his big fight against Sugar Ray Leonard at age 28. Then yesterday, as I said, I had Jerry Cooney on, and I got emotional during that interview because of his story. He's a fantastic guy. So, and boxing is, boy, that's one-on-one. Let's see who can do what. And so I've always been attracted to that sport and the stories. And a lot of fighters have had impact in my life, like those guys that I just mentioned.
I can remember as a kid, when Muhammad Ali, he was Cassius Clay then,
Sure, sure.
and he was going to fight Sonny Liston.
Yeah.
I can remember in the living room we had a radio. That's when we only got, I think, two stations on our TV. We got the Altoona station and the Johnstown station.
Right.
We wasn't up there yet to get any Pittsburgh stations, but the fight was on radio, and I remember Dad sitting in his chair in the corner, and I sat on the edge of the couch, and we listened. Uh, my oh my, what a
Yeah.
night that was! And it came out just as Muhammad said it was
Sure.
would be. But
Yeah.
it, this new, I call it this new crazy fandangled thing. You know, these guys get into this. Uh,
MMA.
yeah, that cage
Yeah.
thing, and you know they just womp each other. Has that taken away from boxing? Do you think that has any impact on it?
You know, a couple years ago, me and two other guys got into the promotional business side of the MMA, and I lasted one fight, and I just it wasn't my cup of tea. Plus, we lost money, and I'm not into losing money.
Right.
But you know, like speaking to Jerry Cooney last night, or Donnie Lalonde, who's trained, and Vinny, all three of those guys have trained fighters. If you listen to them talk, okay, it is such a science. It's not just going in there and slugging away.
Right.
Okay, it's the moving, it's the pivoting, it's the creating your own opening if the opening isn't there. You know, hitting the guy. It is, they say, the sweet science. Now, the MMA, you need courage to go in there and fight. I don't care who you are. Okay, you know you're going to get hit and busted up. It takes a hell of a man or woman to do that. Is it taking away from boxing? In this world of instant everything, you know, boxing matches can last one round or they can last 12.
Right.
Okay, where MMA and boxing is a feeling out process sometimes.
Hmm.
MMA guys just go in and they start whomping on each other. You know, people like that. They like the savagery. Um, for me, I'm not a fan of it. I give them credit. I give them respect. Is it taking away from boxing? I think it's like this. I think that if you're an MMA fan, you're an MMA fan. If you're a
Right.
boxing fan, you're a boxing fan. So now the one thing that MMA has done, Dana White and his group, is the marketing of it has been tremendous. One thing that I'm not crazy about with boxing is I mentioned Vinny Paz and his story. Or, you know, on NBC, they used to say, there's this Italian guy, colorful guy out of Providence, Rhode Island. Or on CBS, there's an Italian guy from Youngstown who wants to win the title for his dad, Boom Boom Mancini. Or on CBS, there's this good looking guy from Canada who had a rough childhood who is now the champion, Donnie Lalonde. There was a story behind
Right.
these guys, okay? Buster Douglas, I'll tell you a story. February of 1990, he was fighting Mike Tyson. And usually me and my dad watched all the fights together. With this one particular fight, me and my friend Vinny, we went to our friend Tom's house to watch it. And we just didn't expect the fight to go more than one round because Tyson was knocking everybody out cold. Then my mom had recently passed, and here's Buster Douglas talking about his mother passing and how he wants to win the belt for her. And he's getting emotional. And all of a sudden, man, Buster's my guy. And I really wanted him to win this fight. Knew he wasn't going to, but really, and every round, he's beat and he wins the fight. There was a story behind it. Now with these pay-per-views, $85 a clip. Now I used to get pay-per-views when they were $20, $25. Okay. And we watched and we enjoyed them. But now the fights are $80, $85, maybe $100, something like that. That's ridiculous. And then what you do is you are losing a fan base. You're losing a fan base. Put the major fights on pay-per-view. That's fine. I wouldn't do $85. Okay. But put the major fights on. But let's introduce these fighters and their stories to the people because there's something attractive about them that's I like this guy. I like him. And that's hurting boxing. But you know what? The arenas are packed. We had a few big fights the past couple of weeks with Deontay Wilder and Ortiz. That stadium or arena was packed just last week. In Saudi Arabia, Anthony Joshua fought Andy Ruiz Jr. That was packed. So but I just think it'd be better if and more visual. People would see them more on free TV. We had Wide World of Sports, Sports World, and I forgot what CBS called theirs. But you got to know who these guys were, and that's very important. I'm big on stories, and that should be the trap, the bait that you reel people in. Like when when Donnie Lalonde, again, when I heard his story and the way he said it, and how he would talk about advice to abuse kids. My mom said, "Well, I love this guy," right? And I did too. But you get to know who he is. So that's important.
I remember Friday Night Fights.
Yeah, there you go.
Gillette used to sponsor it, to look sharp, do. I could still hear the song going on and stuff.
Right.
That'd be fun to watch again.
Well, Tuesday night fights, as I say, ABC, CBS, NBC had fights. Tuesday night fights on USA Network. My dad and I never missed, and they had some big fighters on. Larry Holmes, Vinny Paz. They had Lennox. They had all these guys, and then ESPN obviously, and that's all great on cable. But then, and I'm good with pay-per-view for the Super Bowl fights. The big matchups. I'm fine with that. But every fight's on pay-per-view now, and not every fight, but it hurts.
Yeah. You mentioned Boom Boom Mancini. I was just talking about him with my wife the other day. Of course, she remembers the name.
Sure.
But I said, I wonder where he's at today. Wonder what he's doing. Do you know if he's still?
Yeah, I know Ray, and he's doing very well. If you look at the Fox Sports Premier Boxing, Premier Boxing, he's the analyst. So he's very visible. He's on just about every fight that the PBC has on TV. Him and Lennox Lewis. So he's doing very well. He's still heavily involved in it as an announcer, as an analyst, a pre-fight show. So if you want to watch him, go to Fox Sports, and you'll see every time there's a fight, Ray's there. So he's doing very well.
Cool. I'm gonna have to. Usually, I'm on the air, either on the radio or on here.
Right.
So.
And he moved back to Youngstown, which is exactly an hour from me. He lived in California for years, and he moved back to Youngstown about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
He was always one of my favorites. I just used to like Boom Boom Mancini.
Well, yeah.
Your radio show, let me put this back up where people can go to Claudio Reilsono.
Yeah.
.com.
Yeah. And you can also hear it on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. But you can hear it on my website too.
I went there this afternoon and listened to it.
Okay.
You had the Mount Rushmore.
Yes, the quarterbacks. Yes.
The quarterbacks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So you're on there how often?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Pretty much once a week. We have 52 shows this year. Have a great producer, Adam Zaloof. He does a great job. And I have, as it says, legends from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I also have roundtable discussions with friends of mine talking about Mount Rushmore quarterbacks. We'll have Mount Rushmore of heavyweights, Mount Rushmore of pitchers and baseball players, and so on and so forth. So it's fun. And it's basically, I wanted guys who, like when I said I had Roman Gabriel on, oh my God, Roman Gabriel, what's he up to? Or like you just said about Mancini,
right.
What are these guys doing now? Okay. And then the roundtable discussions. I've had my friend, again, Nick Kaplak and Rick Mitchell, Smoking Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree, Mike Migliore, guys I do shows with. And like we're talking sports, like just friends talking sports. And it's a lot of fun. And fortunate enough to have some great sponsors in Aspire Pediatric Therapy and Roscoe Hearing and Allergy Care Center and Dreher Physical Therapy Institute. I appreciate their thing. And Lee Davis and Associates. Legends Division Facebook page, which I have a list of guys who are former athletes who are were up for speaking engagements and appearances. So I have a great group of sponsors, and the show's gone very well. Like I said, just yesterday, interviewed Jerry Cooney, which was great, and I've had Rocky Blyer on, Jim Rooker, Al Oliver, Rennie Stennett, as I said, Roman Gabriel, Vinny Paz, Donnie Lalonde, Vince Papali. They made a movie of Vince's life a few years ago called Invincible, the former Philadelphia Eagle. He's been on. And I've just had a lot of great guys on, and it's been a thrill, and hopefully I've gotten some great emails about it. It's a little bit of a different show because I know most of these guys. I play golf with them, or I've known them ever since I was a kid. And, like I said, I'm Italian, I'm emotional, and there's been a lot of times that I've gotten emotional on the air, which I don't care. That's just who I am. I'm not going to be fake about it. These guys have had impact on me. And, I care for them, not just as athletes, but as people first. As I said in the outset of the show, good people, good people, good people, and I could tell you stories about these guys and what they've meant to me, and funny stories and, emotional stories. And I share that with the audience.
I'm going to start tuning into that.
That's good. I hope you do.
Because that's the kind of thing that I like personally.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 people sitting around, whether the camera's on or not,
right?
Because there's that familiarity about each other, right. Those things, and you just chat and you just talk, and you just pour your heart out about this, throw your hands up about that, whatever. I'm going to start tuning into that. That sounds.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. And again, what makes the show are the guests. You give them a question and they run with it. And like I said, I'll add some stories, funny stories, or some moments that those guys had impact on my life. Or another thing, I was always into the athletes who, after their career was over, what they did thereafter. Chuck Noll used to say, "What you do in," I forgot what, because I say it all the time. Not the real world. He had another term, but anyway, like Greg Norman, for example, he used to say, "I'm number one golfer in the world, but I'm not going to be number one golfer in the world forever. I want to prepare for that moment." And when I've studied guys like that, and I'm doing that as we speak. I mean, I've been very blessed to be at CMU for all these years, and Global Scouting Bureau all these years. And the hitting camps and hitting lessons are going great. Everything's going great. But I'm not one of those guys who puts his hand behind his head and his feet up on the desk and say, "Oh man, I got it made." I keep pushing. And I want to be ready for when the day comes that that part of the game isn't there for whatever reason. And so I like to know what these guys did to transition from athletes, their life's work. Chuck Noll used to say, "Get on with your life's work." And like Donnie Lalonde got heavily involved, very successful in real estate. Jerry Cooney was involved in minor league baseball, announcing fights, promoting fights. Now he has a gym in New Jersey. He just wrote a book. Vinny makes a lot of appearances. Vinny's great with fans. He had the movie of his life made. So that always inspired me to get involved in business. Magic Johnson is tremendously successful. Roger Staubach, tremendously successful.
Yes.
And that's something that has always inspired me to do what they did and are doing.
How about television? You have a television show too.
Yes, I co-host a great show called Steel City Sports World, where again Luther Dupree, Smoker Jim Frazier, Mike Migliore, and I we just talk about local sports, obviously, but also sports in general, and that's a ton of fun. That's the quickest hour that I'm a part of, including this show. That's a quick hour of this show so far. That's to your credit. And I also host Ring Talk, Pittsburgh's Ring Talk, where we talk about current boxing bouts that have happened. We make predictions on upcoming matches, and then we'll have something called Legend of the Month, or we'll have a discussion of who was the greatest heavyweight or greatest this, greatest that. It's a lot of fun. And they tease me because for some reason, the greatest guys are always, their last name ends in a vowel. Marciano, Graziano, Pazienza, Paz, Mancini. Donnie Lalonde, his name ends in a vowel, but he's not Italian. But it's a lot of fun, and I have great guys to work with. It's a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this tonight as much as I did. It's been a pleasure, Claudio. It has really been a pleasure. Been a lot of fun. And you're right.
My pleasure.
That hour went by fast.
It did. And I appreciate you having me on. And again, I hope your listeners enjoy it and got something out of it. And hopefully they listen to my show on ClaudioReilsono.com. And hopefully it brings back some memories, and it's an entertaining show for them. But I can't thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. My pleasure.
Wow. And I hope you'll come back again sometime.
You tell me when to come on. I'll be on. I'd like to have you on my show as well. And we'll talk more baseball and introduce my audience to your audience and or to you. And it'll be fun to do. So anytime, I'd love to be on your show again, and we'll have you on my show.
All righty. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. We covered a lot of ground tonight. Baseball, boxing, radio, TV, some culture, some society. I mean, we covered it all.
There you go.
I mean, but there's a whole lot more to cover at a later time and a later date. So,
all right.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give your love from us to your family.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And our prayers are with you. Go get them, Claudio.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure.
Just go get them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it live until we got booted, kicked off, slapped around, whatever happened to us out there in the cybersphere. But we came back. There's another example, young people. You get knocked out, you get back up. We literally got knocked out, but we came back. And I thank you for staying there with us and waiting for us to get back. I have no idea what happened, but thank you so very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of Romans and countrymen, thank you for being part of this tonight. And if you know someone that missed it, just tell them to go to the George Espenlaub Show page on Facebook, and you can look at it, or go to the George Espenlaub channel on YouTube, and you can watch it over and over and over again. And I hope you'll do that. Well, y'all know when you hear that little tune in the background, it's time for Charlie and I. That's my sidekick over there. He's a mess. I'm just telling you, he's a mess. And he'll tell people that I'm a mess, but we're a mess. What do you expect from the funny farm? I mean, But anyhow, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you're down the street, around the corner, somewhere across America, or around this great big world. I was checking out some things today. Australia, Switzerland, the UK, Ireland, South Africa. Lo and behold, they listen to this menagerie around the world. Wow. And we're delighted they do. And they probably a lot of times just shake their head and say, I don't know about that guy. But nonetheless, we sure do appreciate you. All your support, your email, all your kind words. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from here, there, and everywhere. And so tomorrow night, we're going to be on at 5 p.m. because we have a creation scientist with us. One of the top creation scientists in the world. And he will be with us. Ed Temple will be with us. Another man out of Columbus will be with us. And Dr. Hoved will be with us. Hovind, Hoved, a world-renowned scientist. He'll be here, and we'll have a lovely, lovely time. That's at 5 p.m. tomorrow night. We'll be streaming live, so we'll put something up there on the board. Thank you, Claudio, once again.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And ladies and gentlemen, If it's nighttime where you're at, you have a great night. If it's already daytime where you're at, you have a wonderful, wonderful day. But regardless of where you're at and what time it is, until tomorrow, 5 p.m., we'll see you here again. You be kind one to another. Remember that. Do good one to another. And I trust that God will keep you right in the center of his hand. Good night, everybody. And thank you for tuning in.